Hey everyone, just a bit to explain before I get started, but this video is purely just for the pentagram and the neck piece only. If you'd like to know how to create the look, then please click the link down below because I have a separate video for this. So what you need for the pentagram: a marker pen, PVA glue, wood barbecue sticks, silver spray paint, acrylic paint, a metal ruler, hot glue, craft knife, card and Depron. And for the neck piece itself you will need some paper, PVA glue, Worbla, a heat gun, acrylic paint, scissors, hot glue, craft knife, craft foam and some silver spray paint. So I've started off by grabbing my polystyrene board, and I've already created a perfect circle by creating my own compass using a scrap piece of cardboard. So you want to go ahead and draw a circle, and this is just going to be your guide to getting all the spikes even. Now, not gonna lie, I'm just taking an absolute stab in the dark with the sizes and dimensions, but what I've done is grabbed a marker and just really roughly drew out the star. Eventually, when I was happy with the shape, I've just gone ahead and grabbed a ruler and a craft knife and cut the star out. So like I said, you're just gonna have to go by eye. So as you can see here, I've already made a mistake by cutting two of the points off. This is because I was doing what I do absolute best, and that is zoning out, and I completely was on a different planet and cut the point off. I didn't want to be wasting any foam and time, so I just grabbed a glue gun and just simply glued them back on, and voila, back to normal. Next, I drew a smaller star inside the star, and you want to cut out the sections. I think I left roughly around a 3 cm gap from the outside, and then you should very simply have something that looks like this. As you can see here, I've made an absolute identical twin, and this is because I wanted the star itself to be much thicker, and I didn't have any thicker foam than this. And this is so I can just glue them together. But before sticking the stars together, I grabbed a marker first and drew out the parts that I want to cut only on the top half. And it should look something like this, and then you're free to glue it down. Now, this is quite cheeky, this is not what glue guns are for, but I just decided to use the really hot end and kind of melt the foam into some cool shapes and create some details. You can also go in with some scissors or knives and also push this as well to kind of score it. Next, I'm going to be grabbing some card, and then I'm just going to draw out the blades. Again, I'm just kind of doing everything by eye and just kind of winging it really. This took a lot of trial and error, messing around until I was happy with the shape, and then I just simply cut it out. Now you want to make an additional 3 exactly the same shapes and size. Okay, so I haven't actually stuck them on yet. I'm just going to create the ends of the star. So I'm grabbing some more foam and I'm just really roughly drawing out these diamond shapes. Cut that out and then place it on top to see if it's the right size, and once you're happy you can go ahead and hot glue that down. You want to do the same for all points. Again, this is really cheeky. I don't even think or know if people actually do this, but I'm just melting away the foam to create these really cool shapes and details. Not gonna lie, I was really pleased with this idea and it turned out really cool, so it was worth it. Just be really careful with this. Now you can go ahead and stick down your blades and make sure you stick them at the back, and it should look something like this. Moving on, so now I'm going to grab some more foam and I'm going to draw these shapes on. Again, you have to do everything by eye. Really sorry about that. Not gonna lie, it was so difficult and took me so many attempts, so don't worry if you don't get it first time. I'm creating a crescent moon as well. Here I'm just marking the things, I don't even know what to call them, just to make sure that they're in the right place, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue them down. Taking some wooden barbecue sticks, I'm just gluing these onto the back and pushing it up into the moon as well. Then you want to glue this to the back of the star. As you can see, there's some bits poking out that I don't want, so I've just gone in with a knife and cut that out. Okay, so I'm a little bit gutted because some of my footage has just magically disappeared, but anyway, the next 2 steps is you want to prime the surface with PVA glue with at least 2 layers, and this is very important because if you don't, you can actually melt the foam with spray paint and the foam can also absorb the colour, so it's really important you do this. Once the PVA glue is dry, then go ahead and go outside and spray it in silver. 1 to 2 coats of silver should do the trick. And as you can see now it's lovely and silver. Now next you want to grab some black acrylic paint and really dilute the colour with water, because now what we're going to do is the washing technique. So what you want to do is just wash it all over the pentagram, and then I'm grabbing some toilet roll or some tissue and just dabbing the colour. This is going to naturally allow the paint to sit in the more shadow areas and also create some realism and give it a bit more of an actual metal effect rather than just some clinical clean silver. The more you repeat this step, the more dirtier it's going to be, so it's up to you how intense you want this to be, and you just got to keep repeating the steps until you're happy. Feel free to also add a top coat or something to protect the paint, and that is it for the pentagram. Moving on to the neck piece, so I've grabbed a piece of paper and I've wrapped this around my chest and just really roughly drew out a shape. Now thinking about it, it would have been so much easier if I just wrapped myself in cling film and then tape and then drew on the tape. But anyway, you get the idea. So you want to make a template. Once I was happy with the template, I'm just placing it onto some Worbla, drawing around it and then cutting it out. Now, going to be totally honest here, the way I did this neck piece was definitely not the most professional, the most best method, but what I was basically doing was just absolutely winging it, because now what I'm doing is heating up this piece and literally just shoving it onto my neck and pressing it into the shape of my shoulders. And obviously it ended up as a crinkly mess. It wasn't neat at all, but this part was purely just to create a base, and you'll see why in the next few steps. A much more organised approach would be to create sections, kind of like vertical sections, and to stick them on piece by piece, so it's much more flat and neat and tidy and wasn't all crinkled up. But I was really short on time and I really wanted to try and get this in before Halloween, so I just really took a stab in the dark. And just before the moment of truth was about to happen, the door knocked. What the actual... This actually feels like Christmas. Whoa! So I've heated up the Worbla, and if you're going to do this way, then just please be really careful and don't burn yourself because it gets very hot. If you have a mannequin, then that's absolutely great, use that. And as you can see, this was a lot of struggle, and you just want to kind of keep massaging the Worbla into your body and try and make it match your shape as much as you can. So this is the part where everything just really comes to place and gets so much better, and for some reason I managed to be able to do it. But basically I'm grabbing some craft foam and then just placing some shapes on top of the Worbla. Again, I was just kind of doing section by section and just winging it along the way. So I'm just cutting some pieces that matches the shape, and I'm trying to get it as symmetrical as possible while doing this as well. Again, if you were to do this a much more organised and professional way, I would definitely recommend making some proper templates first with full measurements, and you're going to get the exact symmetry as well. Once I was happy with the shape of the craft foam, I'm grabbing some hot glue and gluing this on. And this is the part where I actually started to develop hope and was pretty impressed, because it was going absolutely terrible up until this point. If you're doing it my method, then feel free to grab a marker and mark out the shapes as well, and then I'm just continuing to create the craft foam and then just gluing them on. Just a little warning is just be careful when you apply hot glue onto the Worbla, because the Worbla starts warping straight away because obviously it's got hot. The reason why I'm sticking craft foam on top of the Worbla is because this creates a really smooth surface. So I have a lot of scrap Worbla from previous projects, but if you don't, then just feel free to cut some sections out. But basically what you want to do is heat up some Worbla and you want to roll it up into worm shapes. And now this is what's going to create the detail. So I'm starting off by creating a thicker worm for the base area that runs all the way along, and you want to go ahead and just hot glue it on. Now you need to be careful and work really quickly because the pieces cool down very quick and go hard. And then I'm creating a second worm just on top of that, and again you want to hot glue this down, and then repeat the same steps for the top. Moving on to the spiky thingies, so I'm just going to grab some Worbla and cut out this spike shape, and then I'm heating two up and I'm actually sticking them together just to build up the thickness and strength. Then I've just hot glued it onto the shoulders and then bent it so it's sticking up right. Do the same for both sides, and now as you can see here I'm creating a belt buckle. and just continuing to add some worm shapes. Now the aim for this was to cover the joints between the craft foam, and then just keep continuing to build up the details. Now you can use this as reference, pause it and just kind of look at the shapes. As you can see, I've added some sections in the shoulders with some craft foam. Also, as you can see, I've added some like bolts, and this was simply just created with hot glue. Bouncing back onto the buckles, I'm grabbing some craft foam in a rectangle shape, and this is what's going to wrap around the buckle. Cut it to size and then simply glue it on the shoulders. Once I was happy with the shapes, then I'm going in with the fuck's sake. Once I was happy with the shapes, I'm going in with some PVA glue with at least 2 layers. This is to prime the surface and also prevent the paint from absorbing the sponge. What? The sponge absorbing the paint. This was just a little bit of extra anal detail, but I'm grabbing some black acrylic paint and I'm painting the entire underneath in black. This was just so that for any reason there was a camera angle where you could see underneath the neck piece. I wanted it just to be a clean, pure black. This was almost unnecessary, it was just for my personal satisfaction. Again, this was the part where it was the lost footage, but I went outside and spray painted this in silver at the same time with the pentagram as well. Once that was dry, I'm doing the exact same technique I did with the pentagram and washing it with diluted black acrylic paint. Then I'm just going to repeatedly dab it, wash it and dab it until I'm happy with the result. And obviously when you're doing this, you're going to lose the details in the process, so I'm going back in with some silver paint and painting over the details and the bolts. You want to grab some copper shades, which you can just see at the bottom of the screen, and I'm really just dry brushing some of the areas here and there. You don't want to overdo this. This was just because I felt like the piece looked a little bit too monochrome. And then feel free to add some sort of top coat to protect the paint. I didn't do this. Also, one last step which I didn't film is you want to create these hooks using Worbla. Very, very simple. Just obviously warm up the worm shapes and then attach them to the buckles and make sure they're stabbing through your lips. Paint them silver and that is it. Thank you so much for watching my tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed this and you found it helpful. I do apologise, it was a little bit all over the place, but anyway, if you like this video then please let me know by giving it a thumbs up, and also feel free to hit that subscribe button. Also don't forget I have an Instagram, Facebook and TikTok at Goth Spectrum, and finally I will see you next time.